begin with the breaking news at this hour. Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncy Billups and Miami guard Terry Rozier have both been arrested in connection to federal gambling probes. Sources tell CBS News Rozier's arrest is linked to a case involving illegal sports betting, while Billups' case came from an investigation into high-stakes poker games. CBS News' Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen is following the breaking news for us, and he joins us now. So, Jake, we're awaiting a news conference that's supposed to start at any moment, but what do we know so far? What do we know about these arrests?
That's right, Vlad. We're waiting on Kash Patel, FBI director, and a number of New York law enforcement officials to announce these arrests this morning. At the same time, what we know has already happened today is that at least 30 people are being charged in connection with the probe you mentioned about the illegal gambling ring. At the same time, we know Terry Rozier, former NBA player, and former NBA player Damon Jones, both were charged in a separate probe, it appears, about faking NBA injuries during games, potentially betting them either betting on themselves on games or having people bet on their performance in these games. The Trump Department of Justice, in addition to the number of other high-profile things we've talked about, has made sports gambling a focus of theirs. Earlier this year, former NBA player Gilbert Arenas, a very controversial player when he played, was also indicted for running an illegal gambling ring as well. It's unclear how exactly these all are expected to be connected, if they are, but at the same time, the Trump administration definitely pulling no punches in making a show of this and just focusing on something, and a rising issue in society is sports betting, and specifically people who actually play in these sports potentially being involved in high-profile betting and gambling rings.
So we mentioned, Jake, that there are two different investigations. Break those down for us.
That's right, Vlad. One investigation features Terry Rozier, the Miami Heat guard, who is allegedly going to be accused of being involved in this betting ring surrounding faking injuries and performance during games themselves. At the same time, it appears that Portland Trail Blazers coach Chauncy Billups, NBA legend, is going to be charged in participating potentially alongside mob players, organized crime figures, in terms of running and operating in illegal poker rings. In addition to that, not just potentially spreading out through that, but 30-plus people are expected to be arrested specifically in that probe and charges. Unclear who the rest of those people are, whether they're other potential players, or as we know, it could be groups of organized crime members, not just in the New York area, but we know arrests have already taken place in Portland and South Florida today.
All right. So what about with the games themselves, Jake? I thought I saw a headline, and you can break this down for me, if there might have been anything unusual about some of the games that were played. Have you heard anything about that? I'm not suggesting that there was any kind of point-shaving scheme or anything, but there seemed to be something adjacent to some illicit activity with regards to games.
Well, one of the things that's interesting about these stories is how visual they are, Vlad, because you have footage of all these players playing. What we've seen with other investigations, not just this one, think about the MLB, think about other past investigations into sports betting, is that when law enforcement comes down with these indictments, they can see when bets are placed by players in these crime rings, and they can see the timing based on video footage of these games. Were bets made potentially at the end of the first quarter, with a player coming out at the beginning of the second quarter, knowing that there was some kind of agreement in place before the game to potentially fake an injury or make a play on the court? Again, this will all be filled out in just a number of moments, but at the same time, Vlad, one of the interesting things is that we've seen, even in an MLB probe, is that pitchers throwing the ball in the dirt in connection with some of these investigations that we know are going on separately, when we know that bets were allegedly placed on specific moments in the game that everybody is watching, that are on television. It's very hard to deny visual evidence of these things, as opposed to some other things that we've reported at the Department of Justice of illicit activity, right, that isn't caught on camera on national television and broadcast throughout the country.
So I know that Kash Patel is going to speak very soon. We see somebody at the podium there explaining who the speakers are going to be in a few moments, Jake. But have we any indication as to how long the feds were investigating this, what kind of evidence and proof that they've built up over the course of their investigation, and where the men that were taken into custody are right now?
Where the Chauncy Billups and Terry Rozier, in addition to former NBA player Damon Jones, are is unclear to us right now, assuming traditionally they would be booked and processed and then potentially moved up to New York for court appearances in the next coming days and weeks, depending on whether the Department of Justice is moving to actually have these hearings this week at some time or moving into next week, or sometimes it takes a couple of weeks to get these kind of ducks in a row. At the same time, what we do know is that the investigation really surrounded former NBA player Damon Jones and a number of other players in the past couple of years who have been caught potentially participating individually in some of these things. So usually the bubbling up turns into more of a trickle and then a waterfall, and it appears that this probe had been going on for at least a number of months. Some players had been involved. The league had potentially cleared them on some of these, and it appears that the federal government is taking intervention now. As we know, sports betting is such a huge industry, Vlad. A number of people from along the age spectrum bet every night on a number of games, and the amount of earnings or losings that are tied to these actions by bad actors certainly totals in the tens of thousands to millions of dollars, depending on the move. And I think that's just important to reference here, is that these players have made millions of dollars in their playing career. They should not need this money, but it's obviously people get connected to some of these things from time to time, and they get involved in caught like this, what we're seeing today.
Yeah, this is really fascinating stuff. Jake Rosen, thank you very much.